5.2, simplifying radicals. This begins on page 155. Question 1, simplify. G, negative fourth root of 16. The negative sign is outside the radical sign, so we're just going to leave it for now. Just copy that down. The fourth root of 16. Four numbers that multiply to 16. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 equals 16. So that's what the fourth root of 16 is. So the answer for G would be negative 2. I is very similar, but notice that the negative sign is inside the root. It is an even root. So even if I have negative 2 4 times, multiply them together, that will not equal negative 16. That is positive 16. So this does not exist. The back of your book, I believe, says it's the null set. That is the symbol for the null set. Question 2. Solve for x. C, x squared equals 0.09. Okay. Decimal places, that's weird. Okay. Let's take the square root of both sides. So I know the square root of x squared equals x, so that part's straightforward, but 0.09. Well, you could use your calculator. It might help you figure some things out. Generally, when you have your decimal place, you're looking at the last number here, 9. So that tells me it's going to be 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. How about 0.3 times 0.3? That should be 2 decimal places. 0.09. That works. So this is going to be 0.3. Now let's think, is it positive, negative, or both? We have well, I've already done the positive, so 0.3 times 0.3, that works. How about negative 0.3 times negative 0.3? That also gives me 0.09, so negative also works. So this will be positive and negative, so plus or minus 0.3. Okay, I just realized I have a typo here. This is supposed to be an 8. Let's fix that. Okay, so x cubed equals negative 8. Let's do the cubed root of both sides now that I have fixed my typo. Cubed root of x cubed is, nice, that one's easy. That's x. Cubed root of negative 8. So 3 numbers, 3 identical numbers that multiply to negative 8. Well, 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. That gives me positive 8. Let's try negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. That has 3 negative signs. That'll be negative 8. So this one will be x equals negative 2. There is no positive for this answer. 3. Change to simplest radical form. M, the fourth root of 162. Off the top of my head, I can't do this. It's not a nice one like 8 is. And chances are, if I use my calculator, it will give me this weird decimal. And we want it in radical form, which means exact answers. All right, I'm going to make my tree. I know it's even, so I'm going to factor out a 2. I can use my calculator, and I found it it's 2 times 81. Oh, 81 is nicer. 81 is 9 times 9, and I know my 9s are 3 times 3. So 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 2. Don't forget about that lonely 2 up there. And I'm just going to rewrite this. Again, remember you can rewrite this a different way. So it could be 4th root of 2 times the 4th root of 81. So I'm going from here. And I know 81 equals 3 to the 4th. So there's a couple ways. So you can do it this way. So you'll have 4th root of 2 times 3. Or if you want to go from here, you can have a group of 4, so a 3 comes out in front. and the 2 is left behind. Both ways give you the same answer. 6n, 2/3 4th root of 1,296. Again, that's a pretty big number. The 2/3, I'm just going to leave for now. I'm going to deal with that later. I'm going to look at the 1,296. Okay, so I have groups of 4. Again, you could have also written this as 16 times 81. Fourth root of 16 is 2. Fourth root of 81 is 3. Or you can do it as groups. That works as well. I'm going to try to keep my numbers simple so I can multiply and divide at the same time. Those are the same operation, really. Don't tell an elementary teacher that one, though. Okay, so I have here 2 times 2 times 3 divided by 3. Guess what? 3 divided by 3 equals 1, which would be the same here. 3 divided by 3 equals 1. 2 times 2 is 4. Your answer is 4. 4a, express in simplest radical form. All variables represent non-negative real numbers. Excellent. So we probably don't have to worry about absolute values in this question. 4a, square root of x cubed y squared. Well, I'm going to do this a couple ways for you. Let's just, same method as what we were doing for our numbers in the previous question. So we'll do that one first. We don't have to make a factor tree because these are letters and they're already kind of factored for us. We have 3 x's and we have 2 y's. And remember, this is a square root, looking for groups of 2. So x, y, and our leftovers are an x. I could also do this with exponents because my square root is the same as a half exponent. So 3 times 1/2, so it'll be x to the 3/2. 2 times 1/2 is 1, so y to the 1. So I have here x to the 1, x to the 1/2. Those would add up to x to the 3/2 and y to the 1 as well. So let's put our x and y together, and our half exponent we will just rewrite as a square root. 4n, the 6th root of 128, x to the 6th, y to the 12th. They've mixed up numbers and letters here. Let's break it up. Let's do numbers first. Do you know what the 6th root of 128 is? If not, we're going to have to make a bit of a factor tree at least to break this down. Factor trees are always like upside down trees. Okay, so I have 7 2's, and we have 6 x's and 12 y's. Do I want to write this out? Okay, there's 12 y's. See why exponents sometimes are better. Okay, so we're looking for groups of 6. There's a group of 6. Here's a group of 6. There's a group of 6. And there's a group of 6, and my eyeballs are complaining now. Okay, so we can have a 2 in the front, an x, and 2 y's, and left over is that 2, so the 6th root of 2. Okay, now it's getting a little bit challenging to do it by drawing it all out. Let's try the exponent method. So we have 2 to the 7th, x to the 6th, y to the 12th, and our exponent is 1/6. So you have 2 to the 7 over 6. X, 6 times 1 over 6 is 1, so x to the 1. Y, 12 times 1 is 12, divided by 6 is 2. So if I look at that 2, I'm going to break it up. 2 to the 6th over 6. 2 to the 1 over 6, because I can add those two fractions together, I will get 7 over 6. Xy squared. 2 to the 6 over 6. That 6 over 6 equals 1, so it's 2. I'm going to move my x and my y squared forward. And that 1/6 exponent, I'm just going to rewrite now as a radical. And there's my answer. 5a, write as an entire radical. Entire radical means everything is underneath the square root sign or the cube root sign. 5a, 2 square root of 3. Well, if I go backwards, this 2 has to came from underneath that root when it was an entire radical. So we need to put it back. And we are looking for groups of 2 because there's a 2 here. Let's rewrite this. That 3 is still there, and we need 2 times 2. And then we just simplify this inside. 3 times 2 is 6, times 2 is 12. So it was the square root of 12 as an entire radical. 5m, 2 fifth root of 3. Again, this 2 has to go back inside to become an entire radical. We're looking for groups of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fifth root, don't forget that 5 there. Multiply that out, 96. 7, write as an entire radical. All variables represent non-negative real numbers. 7j, fourth root of a at x divided by 2x. That 2x needs to be underneath the same root. Let's copy that down. So that's already as a radical. This needs to be the fourth root of something. Well, we need 4 of those, so we're looking for groups of 4. Two times 2 times 2 times 2 is 16. X to the 4th, we have 4 x's. So now we can write this as a big radical. Okay, let's reduce it. 8 over 16, that's the same as 1 over 2. X to the 1 and x to the 4th. 4 minus 1 is 3, or we can use the Murder's math method. So we can write our answer as the fourth root of 1 over 2x cubed. We can simplify it a little bit more, which might be what your answer wants. The fourth root of 1. There's a reason why I want to do this, because the fourth root of 1 equals 1, so this would also be an acceptable answer. 8. Express each radical in simplest radical form. All variables represent non-negative real numbers, which is nice. So again, hopefully we don't have to worry about absolute value signs. Okay, let's multiply this together because we have our brackets. There's no number in front of the a, b here, so it will be a 1. So 1 times 3 is 3. A times a is a squared. B is not there, and we'll do our roots. Are they both cubed roots? They are. I forgot to write down the cube here. That makes it much easier. Okay, inside the cube is 2 times 4 is 8. A times a squared is a cubed. B squared times b squared is b to the 4th. If they were a different radicand here, so if that was a cube root and a square root, you couldn't multiply them together. Okay, let's copy down our 3a squared b. Cubed root of 8 is 2. The cubed root of a cubed is a. Cubed root of b to the 4th is b, but we have a b still left over inside. So I can write that out a little bit more for you. Okay, we're looking for groups of 3. 2 can come out, and a can come out. We have 4 b's, so 3 of them will make your group, and then that's your leftover b. Now we can multiply the numbers here together, so 3 times 2 is 6. A squared times a is a cubed. B times b is b squared, and that poor little cubed root b is all by himself.